Public Voice. I'm Scott Feschuk. I'm here with Roger Martin. Roger, you are the chair of the Ontario Task Force on Competitiveness, Productivity, and Economic Progress.
That is right. It's a mouthful.
And also sounds very scintillating. I'm sure the meetings are just crazy. But, obviously we're in a time of extreme economic turmoil. So I'd just like to get your thoughts on the context in which the most recent report was released and the implications going forward given the crisis.
Sure. Well, I would say on the economic crisis we're in now, that anybody who says they know for sure how it's going to play out is either lying or delusional. It is tough to know how this is going to play out because I think there are unprecedented aspects of it. That having been said, I think there are still smarter things to do and less smart things to do. And our view, as presented in this most recent paper, is we need to keep working on the things that will make us great long term, even as we work our way through this troubled times, i.e. we have to lean into the wind. And the really critical thing that we've got to do is make sure we're investing enough in our future prosperity and not consuming too much of our current prosperity. So that's the great balance in any economy. You know, you do some things that are investment in future prosperity. So, you know, when you build a highway or bridge that doesn't exist now so that commerce may flow on it, that's an investment in future prosperity. It'll be there for 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, and right now it's nothing but an expense, right? So that's an investment. It takes away from your ability to consume current prosperity and its purposes for the future. Same with education, right? You take somebody who could be working, like in university, a working age person, you take them out of the workforce, spend a bunch of money on them to get something in the future, as opposed to consuming current prosperity. The most classic consumption of current prosperity is healthcare. If we're well-to-do enough, we can provide universal health care to everybody so that if they get sick, we take care of them. Both are good, right? There's no question both are good, and also taking care of disadvantaged people. All those things are consumption of current prosperity. They're good. But if you do too much of the consumption of current prosperity, when you get to the future, you don't have a lot of future prosperity to consume. Over the last 15 years or so, there has been a distinct swing in Canada and Ontario towards consuming more of our current prosperity versus investing more in future prosperity, especially if we even look at it vis-a-vis the U.S., which is considered the place that's consuming. Not so. And so we've accidentally let the balance go in a direction that is bad for us long term, accidentally. I don't know, were you ever asked as a member of the electorate, well, Scott, how do you feel about this balance, the fact that we're now consuming much more of our current prosperity? Is that okay with you? No, but it's happened anyway. And so in this crisis, we've got to think about, are we investing for future prosperity?
To what extent is the challenge there convincing politicians who are obviously focused on short-term goals, re-election for instance, to make those investments? I mean, does it become harder for them to both sell them or for people to convince them to do them?
I think it's easier to get people all fired up about consuming current prosperity than investing in future prosperity.
I know that's what I like to do Friday nights.
Yeah, well.
Consume some current prosperity.
Exactly. So I think that's the little game that's being played out, which is that it's easy to talk the electorate into the virtues of another consumption of current prosperity and not investment in future prosperity. And when the going gets tough, it's particularly easy to protect the consumption of current prosperity. So the really bad thing that happened to Canada and Ontario in particular was the recession, the economic downturn of 1992-3. The reason is that's when we were running at the Canada level, the $30 to $40 billion deficit. So we didn't have any transom when the waves started to rise. And what we did was, it was in that period where we started to sacrifice future prosperity to maintain current prosperity. That's when we went from leading the United States in educational spending per capita, leading. We were 1991, 92, leading them, to trailing them dramatically. So what we did was we followed them on health care, spending on health care, and did it to the sacrifice of spending on education. That's a clear trade-off choice was made.
In a twisted way, then, does the economic crisis offer a certain amount of opportunity for governments, through the notion of the conventional wisdom regarding stimulus, to kind of pick up and think about those long-term investments again?
Absolutely. But they have to be really careful, because the easiest thing to do in that economic stimulus is to pick things that are consumptions of current prosperity. And that's why one of the things we're trying to bring to bear with our work on the task force is a different language system. Because you don't see, we recast budgets. When the budgets comes out, we say, you know, they'll say how much was spending versus tax cuts versus paying down the interest. Irrelevant. Not a relevant consideration. What we do is recast them in terms of how much of this was investing in future prosperity versus consuming current prosperity. And so we're trying to get that language system in so that the electorate knows more what's going on in this important dimension.